Welcome, Rob, to Metallidium Pages. It's a great pleasure to talk with you about Cognitive, this new, this new album, Aberrance, and more things related to the metal world in general. So we are starting by asking, so how was the band? How was the band during the? How was the band being during the last 3 years? Because your previous album was released in 2021.
Yeah, obviously COVID was a thing, so we were dealing with that, just not being able to play. And then when we finally were able to play and tour again safely, we hit the road. But the second that we were done writing Malevolent Thoughts, we had started writing a new album already because we had the time. So we had already had riffs left over from the last record and ideas of what we wanted to try next. So we just hit the ground running. And then in between touring, we were just recording more riffs and songs, and things just started coming together. And we were like, "Yo, I think we almost got this Metal Blade record ready."
Yeah.
So it's kind of natural.
Mm. Okay, well, the next question goes to the exactly your last words. You are entered when a big label, Metal Blades, because you previously was with Unique Leader Records. So how was the enter to one of the biggest labels in the world?
It was just, it's like so stereotypical to say it, but it's a dream come true. Like, you know what I mean? Like you start as a musician, you're like, I want to end up on this label or that label, and it's like it's Metal Blade. It's fucking the metal label. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
crazy, and everyone there has been super helpful, very always putting their best foot forward to helping us and giving us what we need or could want or anything. It's incredible.
Hmm. Okay. Well, talking about now, especially for these new albums. So for you, this new album has an special meaning for the band, perhaps because you enter a new label. You are releasing a second album after the pandemic. So perhaps this album represent a different kind of topics on in the band.
I think it was just more like, okay, like we're on the big boy label and we got to play in the big leagues now, and you know what I mean, and just write like something that wasn't like, hey, like, we still wrote true to ourselves, but we had to make sure, we just felt like there was like a standard we had to be at no matter what. So it was like all cylinders forward, everyone being hard on each other about what we were writing to make sure we put out the best product possible.
Okay. Talking about now, especially from discography of the band. Since 2014, since your first album, your self-titled album Cognitive, you decide always to release albums. Just in 2012 you released an IP, The Horrid Swarm. So what did you decide always to release an album and not like usually bands, but album, EP, live video, etc.? What are you rolling down to most albums?
Um, I mean, for us, it's just like always just thinking forward, pushing forward, make sure we're putting something out every 2 or 3 years. Like clockwork, we try to be on it, especially because I feel like people's attention spans are short nowadays. Like people are like, what's new? What's new? What's new? It's got to be the new thing. It's got to be the new thing. And I hate it because I'm an old fart. But it's just, I still try to pick up my guitar as much as possible and play. And I'm like, oh, here's a riff, here's a song. Maybe the other guys are doing the same. And then it's just like, hey, well, we should start writing and getting this stuff together. And I feel like every 2 or 3 years, we just have enough culmination of ideas to start getting together and putting things in order. And I just think as you get older, we've been trying to be a little less on the crazy side and more worried about like song structure and like better songwriting.
Okay. Oh well, talking about these kind of aspects about the writing process. Well, you are much better. You are a better musician than when you release your first album, Cognitive. That's normally because always the musician grow up on time, etc., etc. But some fans thinks differently. Some fans prefers the rawness of the first album, the inexperience of the first album. I don't know why, but that fans thinks like that. So for you, what's your point of view about this kind of topic of the fan thinks usually that the first or second album are the best of the bands and compared to the previous than the last one.
It's funny you even say that. I use that as a joke. I tell my friends that don't listen to metal. If someone comes up and asks them like what their favorite record is, I'm just like, yo, even if you don't know, just say the first album or the demo, and you'll look like you know what you're talking about right away. But I just think you find different bands and different albums as you're writing, and it's like, okay, 5 years ago I was listening to this a lot. Now, 6 years later, I'm listening to this a lot. So like that being said, there's like always different stuff on the earlier stuff versus now. However, on this last record, I went back and listened to a lot of our old stuff. I was like, man, we need to get back to doing some of this stuff just in a different way, a more mature way than what we were doing 10 years ago. You know what I mean? So it was interesting going back to the Hard Swarm and the self-titled and being like, you know what, we can do stuff like this still, but we can do it better now.
No, that is true. Other things that I saw related, especially with Unique Leader, is that a lot of bands are retired of this label. A lot of bands. I don't know why. Perhaps it's something because I saw other bands enter to Century Media, other bands to Nuclear Blast, and now you are with Metal Blade. A lot of bands at the time the Unique Leader has now are on the big labels. So perhaps this is like a common thing into these old bands are now with the big labels, and now Unique Leader has like a small label until now. So perhaps perhaps what's your opinion about now these aspects of the old bands in all the old bands in Unique
I
Leaders
just
now
think,
with
I mean, like, first of all, like, I grew up when Unique Leader was an extremely brutal technical label with like Mortal Decay, Severed Savior, all that stuff. And obviously, time, either the music, some of the bands just didn't tour enough either. So, like, Unique Leader ended up grabbing more touring bands, which is good because you need bands on the road to sell records. You know what I mean? The name of the game is to make money, obviously. But I think through the years, just people started grabbing different types of genres and bringing it over there, which is good. You can't just have one style of music on there. You know what I mean? You pigeon yourself into one hole. But I just think certain bands grow and grow and grow, and they want more and more. And when you have X amount of dollars, X amount of staff going around, eventually some bands just want to break out and go to somewhere else. Whether it's the right choice or not, that's up to the band to decide.
Yeah, well, yeah. Also, since the beginning, I saw that a lot of reviewers, a lot of people label you as a technical death metal with a lot of deathcore. But during the years, especially with this new Aberrant hearing completely, I didn't know that you decided left the deathcore sound and focus more on technical death metal or death metal in just words. So for you, how was this approach to change the style since the beginnings, as you start as a deathcore with a lot of influence with deathcore, and now you have more technical death metal, stronger technical death metal?
It's so funny because I feel like people used to think we were a super brutal technical band, and now they think we're a deathcore band. I've never thought we were a deathcore band. I mean, I think our singer kind of sounds like it, and it puts us there at times. I understand it, but musically, I just consider us a death metal band myself. That's all I've ever cared about. Like, I never cared about like technical death metal or brutal death metal. Like, I didn't care about the label because like I write the music for me. So like whatever it is, it is. Because like I grew up, I love suffocation, I love cryptopsy, and I also grew up loving like death between the buried and me. I love ion dissonance and Meshuggah, and some of that stuff finds its way in there too. So I don't think the band's ever changed in the grand scheme of things. I just think we grew and mature, found better ways to do things that we were trying to do before that were just half-assed. We were younger musicians.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and in your own words, how do you describe in one word all that this album has for you? In one word, how do you describe this album in one word?
Intense.
Intense. And why?
I just think that the heavy parts are heavy. I think that the fast parts are super fast. I don't think people even realize how fast some of that stuff is, especially on the drums. But I also think there's a lot of peaks and valleys that go through where it's heavy and then it's like a weird ambient droning part, kind of like Fallujah. There's some clean singing on it. Like, I think there's a lot of twists and turns.
Okay. And talking about the promotion of these new Aberrants, what kind of promotion do you have for this new album? Perhaps you will embark in more tours. I saw that you will do more tours to present this new album, but also perhaps you will came to Latin America for the first time, Asia, Europe.
We're
Has more
trying
plans?
to. Oh, it's so funny you said that. That's a big goal of mine is to get to Latin America either this year or next year. That's like number one priority for us actually right now. um, we have our tour. We leave Wednesday to go on tour with Party Cannon. I think it's going to get announced this week, in June or at the end of June, or I'm sorry, I can't remember. The end of July, I think it is, in early August. It's going to get announced this week that we're going on tour. We're taking out Dysentery and Atre Billis. We're going to do a headline for the record. Then we go out with United in September. And we have another unannounced tour that I can't talk about in November. That'll be a big deal. But we're definitely trying to make our way down to Mexico and Colombia. That's been a big goal for us right now.
Amazing, amazing. Well, Colombia will receive very well because Colombia has a strong scene into the death metal, especially. So now, as talking about other kind of stuffs, and as I mentioned, in the beginning, or relating things for the metal, as you can see now, the playlist, in general, the technology are well very involved with the music industry now, especially playlists, the artificial intelligence, the art, and etc. etc. So what is your point of view on now about the music industry nowadays? Is good or is bad this kind of stuff disappear with the playlists? With
I think it's great. I'm not a fan of the AI generated art myself. I understand why people use it. It is interesting to see. I'm not a fan of it myself, but I don't think you need to go on the internet and scream about it if somebody does use it. Like people go up in arms, and I'm like, you yelling about it and typing on the keyboard is not going to change anything. People are still going to do it. So like I try not to be negative and things. I'm just like, okay, I would have done it, but they did, and that's fine. It's their band. I don't think it's the end of the world like some people do, but I'm not a fan of it myself. I think the music industry is growing and better than ever. I think metal in general, like bands like Lorna Shore right now, are taking it to new heights. I hate streaming. I'm not a streaming fan. I like having CDs and records, but as a whole, I think it's bigger and better than ever.
Okay, and now as you can see, are the music industry. Well, now the albums are releasing each week 30, 40 albums per end of the week. Usually, as metal, especially for the bank and Fridays, we have a lot of releases in each. So, what's your opinion about now these overpopulated releases each week?
I don't think it was ever. I don't think anything changed. It's just the internet and people being able to record at home now are just making it easier to see, which I think is awesome. Because before, like, you had to have the money to go record it, or you get shitty recordings. Now people are able to record at home and make albums, which is good because I think there should be more music all the time. That's
Okay.
just, I know for people, if you're a reviewer or avid listener, it's hard to just go through the sea of music and be like, which is good, what's bad. I get it.
Okay, okay. Well, we're very close to this interview, Rob. And for this, one of the last questions is, so what's your point of view about now, especially the extreme music, are mixed with a lot of kind of things, progressive, technical, experimental. I know a lot of stuff are mixing with extreme metal. So for you, is good or is bad to that these overpopulated bands are mixing with a lot of things for the new era?
So it's really funny you asked that because I get to talk about it. I think a great band that's mixing a lot of things, and a lot of people don't like them, and obviously a lot of people do. I think what Sleep Token is doing is incredible. I love it. Like I loved Opeth growing up and stuff like that. To sing a band like Sleep Token, bringing R&B and rap elements and dance elements into extreme music with an amazing drummer and vocalist. I love it. So I think seeing things grow and expanding out, it's awesome.
Okay. Well,
and at the same time, I think it's important to still have your bands that do one thing. Like I don't want to hear Cannibal Corpse have an acoustic guitar.
well,
Certain
yeah, you are true. Well, Rob, the sad times arrive at this interview. I hope you enjoyed this one like me. This new album is a great one, as usually from Cognitive. So perhaps you want to add something to your Latin American fans and obviously Metallarium followers.
Just keep supporting us if you can. Follow us on Spotify and tell your friends about us, and anyone that hears it and appreciates it, including you, man. I know this stuff goes like you guys don't get enough praise for doing what you do. It's doesn't go unnoticed by the bands. We appreciate it. So thank you, everyone, and you.